And a year later, I got a phone call from the Treasury Department in Idaho, and I got a letter in the mail saying that they estimated that I owed, based on my sales, $11,000 in sales tax. If you're wanting to start a business in 2025, whether it's a jewelry business or any other kind of business, this all should pertain pretty well, but it can be really complicated and stressful and overwhelming, and I find myself to be a really good Googler, and even I got things really, really wrong in the beginning and have kind of slowly found out those things as the years have gone by. So hopefully this video can help you with the nitty-gritty of starting a business. I get a lot of questions about this, and it's really funny because I'm not an expert on business starting. If you don't know me, my name is Adriana. I have a small jewelry business that I've been running for going on 4 years. I've been full-time for a year, and I'm about to change up my business in a pretty big way, and so it made me revisit this side. And so what a better time to make this video than when I'm in the trenches again of all the paperwork and documentation and all of those things. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is very obvious, but you need to pick a name. I got really hung up on this part for a very long time, and if I'm completely honest with you guys, I really don't like my business name. I'm not going to go through all the trouble of changing it, but everyone thinks my name is Matera, which I totally understand. My name is Adriana. A lot of people can't pronounce Matera, and also I don't like the maid part of my business name. But anytime I find myself thinking too much about it, I remember how much people really don't care what your business name is. But you will. So think about your business name long and hard, but it really should be something that you are gonna be okay with living with, because although you can change it in some later date down the road, it's going to be really complicated and expensive and technically challenging to make those changes later. So pick a name that you're happy with. You're gonna wanna look it up and see if it's been trademarked first. You can go to the US State and Trademarks website and type in the name that you're thinking of and see if it's already been trademarked. Once you find a name that hasn't been trademarked, you're gonna go make sure that the domain is available. So if you're starting a website for your business, which hopefully you are, you want to make sure that the domain is available. You can use any platform like GoDaddy or Shopify or any of those things. They have domain checkers. I personally love Shopify. I've been using them the entire time, and they have a domain checker that's free. You just type in whatever name you want and it'll tell you if it's available, and also alternative names that are similar. If the one that you like is taken, they'll give you some other options. But before you buy that domain, you want to go make sure that your social media names are available. So check Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of those things. If they are available, then just go ahead and secure them. Even if you don't plan on having a TikTok or you don't plan on having YouTube, I've heard of lots of people who have gone and secured those websites or those social media platforms out of like spite, or not like blackmail, but to get money out of people later on, in case those people end up wanting to start those channels and now they have the name, and sometimes they sell them to other people and it can get really ugly. So just go ahead and secure all of your social media names once you've already found a name that clears all of the other criterias. Once you have your name chosen, trademark free, all of your social media names chosen as well and secured, I liked to go ahead and get my logo. I feel like it was something in my brain that needed to be satisfied in the beginning of seeing the logo alongside the name. So you can either do it yourself in Canva. That's what I did. Another thing that I kind of wish I wouldn't have done, I do wish I would have gone the more professional route and gotten something that couldn't be similar to someone else's in the future. I've seen versions of my logo in other people's logos, which is not their fault at all. It's just we all use Canva, so you can't be mad at anybody. But you can use Canva if you're on a budget. You can get some pretty decent stuff, especially if you're good at Canva. But then you can also use something called Fiverr. I'm sure you've heard of Fiverr. It's a lot of freelance people on there that do all sorts of tasks, but there's tons of logo designers on there that do really good stuff, and they can charge anywhere from $15 to a few $100s for a logo, so you can go on there and find someone to design a logo for you. The next thing that you're going to want to do, and what's probably the most important and what you came here for, are all of the documentation. And this is where it gets tricky because every state is different. So you need to decide, are you going to be a sole proprietor, an LLC, an S Corp? I'll put a little graph here. I made this very quickly just to show you guys the differences between all the three. Most people will start out as an S Corp, And this is what led me to this video because I'm changing from a sole proprietor to an LLC. And that brings us to the sponsor of today's video, which is LegalZoom.
When I first started my jewelry business, I set it up as a sole proprietorship, and at the time, it felt like it was the quickest way to get going. There was no complicated paperwork, no waiting period. I was just able to start under my social. But as my business grew, so did all of the responsibility. I started teaching, offering casting services, bringing in clients, and surprise, I'm going to be opening a storefront. More on that later. That's when I realized I needed to take the next step and make things a little more official and form an LLC. But if you've ever thought of setting up an LLC, you know this can be really intimidating. Every state has its own requirements. Some want extra paperwork, some want annual reports, publication, and when you're already managing all the parts of your business, figuring out your particular state's legal structure is super time consuming and very, very stressful. This is why I chose to use LegalZoom. LegalZoom made the entire process feel very doable. You just answer a few simple questions about your business and it walks you through everything step by step based on your specific state. I didn't have to guess which forms were needed or whether I was missing something important. It tailored the entire experience to where I lived and what kind of business I'm running. Something I really appreciated as I went through it too is that every time LegalZoom asked a certain question, like, do you need an operating agreement or will you have employees? There were always little tidbits of information off to the side or above the question that explained why they were asking it, what the information was for, and whether or not it really mattered or was like common for most people. Those bits of clarity were super reassuring. I didn't feel like I was blindly filling out a form or checking boxes, and I really understood why it mattered. Once I was done going through the list of questions, which was pretty short, less than 5 minutes later, I got a phone call from a LegalZoom team member. His name was Daniel. He was super, super nice. He walked me through the entire dashboard, explained exactly what would happen next, and made sure I didn't have any lingering questions. The dashboard is super easy to navigate, and it takes all of the guesswork and anxiety out of something that should be really exciting and not overwhelming. I was able to do the entire thing in less than 10 minutes, and I feel so confident that all the bases were covered. He made sure to remind me of all of the extra subscriptions that they have offered, about compliance documents where they'll remind you on an annual basis of certain documents that need to be submitted every single year, and all of your business documents are stored there if you decide to go with this extra subscription of the reminders about important deadlines, state filings, all of the compliance stuff that's also in there. There's also a ton of extra features like documentation. They can set you up with a business bank account, trademarking, patents, all of those things are in the dashboard for you as you grow to use. So if you're thinking about formalizing your business, getting an LLC, or if you're just getting started and you want to do things right and not have that anxiety about whether or not you're missing something, I really do recommend LegalZoom. One and done, peace of mind. So if you're interested in using LegalZoom, I have a link in the description, and yeah, I really don't think that you're going to regret it.
I mentioned that in the beginning I did a lot of things wrong that I figured out throughout the years, and that was one reason why when I realized I needed to do this LLC that I was not going to go through all the trouble of researching, because even I feel like I'm a good researcher. Even with that, I missed some things, some big things. I'll let you know here in a second. And so I didn't want to miss anything when it came to incorporating. And so you can use LegalZoom as a sole proprietor as well so that you don't miss the things that I missed. But whenever I started off as a sole proprietor, obviously when you're a sole proprietor, everything is under your own social security number. And what did I do? I applied for an EIN, which isn't a big deal, but I did run everything under, I didn't use a business bank account, and I had a credit card that was under my social, but it was separate from my business. I never mixed finances, but it was under my social security number. So just remember, if you are going the sole proprietor route, which a lot of you will in the beginning, you do not have to have an EIN number, which is an employee identification number. It is a tax number. So instead of your social security number, you're going to have a tax ID number that's for your business so that you can open a business bank account. In order to get like the benefits of a business bank account, a business credit card, all those things, usually they want an EIN number. So if you're a sole proprietor, you need to decide, do you want to open a business credit card or take out a loan if they'll allow you to take out a loan under your social for business purposes? if you want to keep all that under your social or if you want an EIN. But just remember, you don't have to have one. So I applied for an EIN as if I was an LLC. I even applied for an LLC one and not a sole proprietor. It was just all messed up. Another thing that I did whenever I was doing the whole sole proprietor thing, I was so afraid of either missing paperwork, messing up paperwork, making mistakes on paperwork, forgetting something that I filled out too much paperwork. I filled out too many tax documents. One was a what was it? It was a sales tax permit. I thought I needed that in order to collect tax from my Shopify website. Well, it turns out I did not need that because I was only selling on Shopify, not in person in Idaho. And Shopify collects your sales tax and reports it and sends it to the state for you. And so my state, and I forgot that I filled out that document and I didn't even understand what I was filling out. I just did it because some Google document told me that I was supposed to, and I mean, it was my fault, right? I researched wrong. Do all of your own research. Take everything with a grain of salt. That's why platforms like that are so helpful, because they've already done all the research. They already know everything. They've got lawyers on their side. And so, yeah, I filled out a sales tax permit and I forgot about it and I didn't realize exactly what it was. And a year later, I got a phone call from the Treasury Department in Idaho, and I got a letter in the mail saying that they estimated that I owed, based on my sales, $11,000 in sales tax because I hadn't been reporting my sales tax. And I hadn't been reporting my sales tax because I hadn't personally been taking the sales tax. Like, the sales tax from Shopify doesn't go into my bank account. They send that sales tax to the states. And so because I wasn't reporting it, they were estimating it. And so if I wouldn't have gotten that phone call, or if they can start garnishing wages if I had a W-2. So it is really important that you know what you're filling out, that you know what you need, that you're not filling out an excess of paperwork. And so, yeah, thankfully I talked to someone that was super nice. She canceled my sales tax permit. She said, you don't need that. And I did not have to pay $11,000 in estimated sales tax. So it really is important. It's important that you do your research well, look up what's specific to your state, because everybody is different. So if you're going to go this sole proprietor route and you don't want to make any mistakes, use a platform like LegalZoom. If you're on a budget and you can't, here are some of the documents that I think you probably will need, but also just do a quick Google search. What documents do I need as a sole proprietor in Washington? What documents do I need as a sole proprietor in Texas? And be as specific as you possibly can and try and figure all of that out for yourself. So something that a lot of states are going to need, Idaho is one of them. Not every state, apparently, so it just depends on your state. You're going to need to register your business name, your DBA, doing business as, with your Secretary of State. I believe that's who it is, Secretary of State. For a lot of states, the only time you need to register this is when your sole proprietor business is not being ran under your name. So for me, my business name is Matera Maid, not Adriana Avila. So I would need to register with the state or the county clerk, whoever your state needs you to register with, to let them know, give them my DBA information, who I'm doing business as. Sometimes as a sole proprietor, and not in every state, in Idaho, I don't have to have this. I don't need a business license in Idaho in order to operate as a sole proprietorship. A lot of wholesale companies, like some of my gemstone suppliers, want a business permit, but I just sent them like a little snippet of Idaho's laws, and then they were like, okay, you're good. But some states do need you to have a business permit in order to purchase wholesale items and just operate in your state. So look into that if you need a business permit. So we talked a little bit about the sales tax permit, which allows you to collect sales tax. So if you're selling in person or you're on a platform that does not collect your sales tax for you, like you get it into your bank account and it's your job to give it to the state, then you need a sales tax permit. There's something called a sales tax exemption form, though, that I didn't learn about until recently, and that allows you to buy some of your materials tax-free. So for jewelry, I was buying my gold, thousands of dollars worth of gold, thousands of dollars worth of silver and gemstones. I was paying tax on it this whole time until about 8 months ago. I found out that I could have submitted a sales tax exemption form to Rio Grande, which is where I buy all my metals. So if you're a jeweler and you're watching this, please do this. save yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars like over the time. Give them a sales tax exemption form and it allows you to buy it all tax free. It doesn't apply to tools, but it does apply to metal, gemstones, and anything that's involved in your manufacturing process of your goods. Every state may be a little bit different on this, but just Google, you can find the document. Like for me, I just Googled Idaho sales tax exemption form. You could Google Texas sales tax exemption form, and they may all have a slightly varied name, but they're all the same thing. So figure out if your business allows you to buy some of your goods tax-free. It should apply to most businesses depending on what you do, but definitely look into it because there should be some way for you to be getting some parts of what you need to make your stuff tax-free, and it can save you a lot of money, especially if you're buying expensive things like gold. The next thing, and I touched on it just very briefly, and that is a business bank account. You don't have to specifically have an EIN and a business bank account or a business credit card, although it keeps things very clean. You can have a completely separate checking and savings and credit card if that's how you want to go under your social, but for your business. Please, please, please do not mix any of your finances together. It needs to be as clear as day from day one, how much money you're spending on your business, what income is coming in. If you ever get audited, you want it to be clear as day, but also every month you want to know exactly what is leaving and coming in, and having everything separate is going to be the best way to do that. So please, that's one of the things I'm most thankful for that I did from the very beginning, is completely separate my finances. So definitely separate all of that. Next thing is similar, but you want to have some kind of bookkeeping thing. I tried QuickBooks, but honestly, it was way over my head, and I was still too small to need to hire a bookkeeper, although I've really been going back and forth with the idea of getting a good bookkeeper because it's getting a little too much for me to handle with. I feel like I'm juggling a lot already. But right now I have everything in an Excel spreadsheet and I have it really well organized. So I have a profit loss sheet where I document all of my income. It's all very specific. And then I have all of my sales in another column, any money that's coming in. And then I have a separate spreadsheet for all of my expenses. I download my credit card statement every single month, drag all that information to my Excel spreadsheet. It adds up how much my expenses were, and then I go back to my profit loss sheet, type in what my expenses were for the month, and then I've got a little formula that subtracts those numbers and it tells me exactly how much money I had left over every single month. So you can create something like that if you're good in Excel. Maybe I could figure out how to make a clean template for that so that you guys could use it as well. Let me know if you want me to do that and I'll try and figure that out, and maybe I'll put it on my Patreon. But having some kind of really clean and clear bookkeeping system, whether it's on Excel or QuickBooks or any other type of app that you need to use, or hiring a bookkeeper, it just needs to be done. You want to know what your numbers are. That's something, money makes me so uncomfortable, and it's the thing that's the easiest to worry about for me. Even when things are good, I worry about money. And so that is the one thing that can really combat that anxiety around money, is knowing exactly where your money is, how much you're making every month, and how much is going out every month. So have some kind of good bookkeeping system for yourself. Doesn't have to be QuickBooks, it can be Excel. Just have it there and use it. The last thing that you may or may not need, depending on where you're working or how much your equipment is or what you have going on, and that's general liability insurance. You can usually call your insurance company that you use for your car insurance. That's what I did. I called USAA. They hooked me up with their person that does their business insurance, and I let them know how much everything is in my studio. If you can go ahead and start running a tab on an Excel spreadsheet every time you buy an expensive tool, go ahead and start adding it up so that you can always let your insurance company know how much in equipment you have and have it insured. You never know what can happen. You don't want to play games with fate, and so have your stuff insured. For all of my stuff, if it gives you a good idea of how much something like that could be, I've got about $45,000 worth of stuff insured, and I pay $50 a month. And that also includes insurance on a rented space. So when I start renting a place, it insures $500,000 worth of damages to that place, and it's only $50. So if you're not even renting a space and you only have equipment, like think of how much cheaper that could be. So it really is worth it. You never know what can happen, but have some kind of general liabilities insurance. If you're going to be renting out a space, you're going to need general liabilities insurance anyway, usually up to $1 million for anyone getting hurt on your property or damages or anything like that. And that's usually really quick and easy to set up. I find insurance people are usually the easiest to talk to when it comes to setting things up, not usually when it comes to making claims. But that should be everything that you need to get started, whether you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it through a platform like LegalZoom. Honestly, if you've got the budget to do it, I really recommend doing it. I did it in less than 5 minutes and I was able to just brain dump all of it. I didn't have to research anything. At least it's important to know your options and what you can do to help yourself, save some stress, save some brain power. But just know that if you go the route of doing it all yourself, that a lot of people do, and it can also come with mistakes. So please do all of your research as best as you possibly can. Use all the resources that are available to you, like Google, ChatGPT, YouTube. Hopefully I covered most of my bases. If I missed anything at all, like as a blanket statement, please leave it in the comments. If there are any mistakes that you made when registering your business as a sole proprietor, as an LLC, anything that you think can be helpful to someone that's watching this video, please put it in the comments. If you like these types of videos, please like and subscribe. It really, really helps my channel grow and it helps this video get out and find other people who are looking to do what we are all doing. So I hope you guys have a good day and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.